I don't. Supervisor, you better.
Oh, are you safe?
You're warm? How are you? I'm wearing You get to wear your Under Armour. That's it. Comfort. Long sleeves last week, that's sideways. Look, you're gonna spend some more in the last few days. Thank you. Actually,
I'd like to welcome everyone. Before we get started, I'm Brett Chellis, Deputy Director, Office of Interoperable Emergency Communications. I'm sitting in today for Commissioner Jackie Bray. However, would like to do a couple quick things, and I'll introduce our new chair. First of all, the fire exits marked. You went to main route is out the main entrance that you came in. Please meet in the parking lot and move past the driving lane, the fire lane, so the apparatus and so on can access the building. And then congregate out there and make sure everybody's accounted for. Secondary exits are out through the back of the building to the DOT area. Restrooms are across the hall from probably behind the heater sitting over here. And please put your phones on stun or vibrate so we do not disturb the meeting and all devices like that. I'd like to welcome you, and I'd like to introduce Mark Ballesteri. He's the new director of the Office of Interoperable Emergency Communications and our new chair of the SIEC board.
Thank you, Brett.
Yep.
First things first, I want to thank everybody for serving on this board. There's a lot you folks do, a lot more we probably can do as a team. But I want to thank everybody for keeping this going and moving forward. Also, Brett and the DHSES OIAC staff over the last a little over a year that Mike's been gone. So just thank you for what you guys do. A little bit about myself. I'm a Coast Guard veteran. I spent 23 years at Rensselaer County. I managed their 911 center. Firefighter for 31 years, still active. Rode with an ambulance for 14, a commercial ambulance. I ran a not-for-profit for 15 years on the side to get drunk drivers off the road. And I'm on my local town board currently. So I kind of have a diverse background in a lot of different areas. Over the last 5 years, I worked as a radio engineer here and we built the CommU program along with a lot of folks I see in this room. Together, we went from one CommL in the state to, I think we're over 185 now, credentialed across the state. So thank you to all you folks too for that. And officially, I think 2 or 3 weeks, I've been in office here and I'm still getting settled in. So I appreciate all the support. And I think I'm going to try to get away with as much as possible that Jim allows me. But at the same token, I'm probably going to use the new guy thing for a lot of things, at least for 12 months, I think.
12 years, you said?
12 months, 18 months maybe. So a couple things, couple housekeeping, just for people that aren't familiar with the procedures. Guests or persons having relevant knowledge or information may attend and speak on as part of the agenda upon accepting of the meeting agenda by the board. All other guests must be recognized by the chair before addressing the board or participating in discussion. If a board member is unable to attend in person or by video conference, his or her designee may attend the meeting and vote on behalf of the member unless they are an appointee not representing a state agency. Also, our stenographer is virtual today. So I ask that everybody, please, if you do speak, state your name. Also, if you make a motion first or second, please also state your name after that for the record so they get that proper. Other than that, we'll get right into the agenda. Kathy, can you do the roll call?
Yes, thank you, Director. Okay, Mark.
Here.
Present. Brett.
Here.
Kim Morris.
Here.
Dave Kozlowski.
Present.
Sergeant Hauk.
Present.
He's zooming in as well.
Okay, so Bob Terry.
Present.
Todd Murray. Brian
Present.
Brian Greenberg, present.
Brian LaFleur.
Here.
Kim Beatty, Brendan Casey,
Here.
Michael Folk,
Present.
Alan Turner,
Here.
Anthony Tripp,
Present in Glen Cove, New York.
you, Juan Figueroa,
Here.
Mike Soretto.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All set?
All set.
Okay, the minutes were distributed from the previous meeting. I assume everybody got a chance to look at those. So we'll be looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Okay, and seconded?
I'll second it, Tim Morris.
Seconded by Tim Morris. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. You also want to approve the agenda for the meeting, I believe. So I got a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Brian McClure. Second.
Brendan Casey.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So moving on. Standing committee reports. We'll start off with the 911 Advisory Committee. Alan?
We've continued to process or proceed with the 911 standards. I've talked with Mark and Brett the last week at a conference, 911 Quarters Conference, and again, a little bit last night. We will be able to move forward with it. I think everything is pretty well set with it. Just want to get everything T's crossed and I's dotted, but I think we're close to having it finally ready to go for a vote.
We'll be working with Jim and Brett on those things forward, and we'll have more updates coming soon. Thank you, Alan. Brett, I'm one working group.
Okay. We continue to be in the review process of the draft documents for the NG 911. The GIS subcommittee has been active and has continued to meet. I would like to ask the chair to recognize Jerry Engstrom, our GIS subcommittee co-chair, who just given a quick update from the subcommittee.
Jerry?
Thank you. One major change to the GIS subcommittee is previously co-chaired it with Chris Rado. Chris has moved on to new responsibilities with New York City. So he has been replaced by Mr. Steve Carr. He's with the New York City Office of Innovation and Technology. He is the subject matter expert for Next Gen 911 for the city, and I think he's going to be a very good addition, a solid addition to the subcommittee. The shared 911, Next Gen 911 PSAP boundary editing environment is still in development. There's a little bit of a snag with the open source shared GIS database and Amazon Wireless Services. So Amazon and the GPO, the developers at the GIS program office, are working on a solution to that disconnect. So, and we hope that that'll happen soon.
Thanks, Jerry.
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Copstein, SIEC. I believe
Good
it's
morning and congratulations, Mark. First, just so the director knows, I will be presenting down at the IEM next month on third-party dependencies. That'll be down in Savannah. SafeCom is going to be publishing a monthly newsletter as soon as it gets approved by their external affairs people. Keep everybody informed. Cybersecurity will be added to the TA when requests are made. Chris, are you going to speak to that, or you want me to speak to it? They're improving the technical assistance, and cyber has become a big thing, and that's going to be part of technical assistance. There was another discussion on user fees for 911. We've discussed that in-house privately in the past, and it's come up again as a concern. There have been a number of cyber attacks on 911 systems and the like. The latest I know is out east in Suffolk County. They're still in the restoration process as far as I know. They got hurt bad. We're working on an interoperability business development document. That's going to allow members here and the like to better present the case to the politicians for funding. Putting the need for interoperability and sustainability in a business case format, which some of them are more familiar with. There are two new grant programs that I think we ought to take note of. One is going to be through Homeland Security, the cybersecurity grant program. Chris, are you going to speak more to that? I don't know if it's out yet or not. It's out? I would strongly suggest we take a look at it. There's another program from Health and Human Services on rural health grant programs. And I think that's something we should be taking a look at as well. We're looking at the new strategic national survey. Right now, it's in a deconfliction mode. We're trying to come up with questions that will not create a problem. One of the things we're adding to it is SOGs, standard operating guidelines versus procedures. Within a number of states, procedure must be adhered to strictly, where a guideline gives you some flexibility. We're also looking with FEMA at some new ICS positions. Mark, you may be aware of it, the Information Technology Support Specialist, going to be called the ITSS. The Cyber Planner, CYBP, officially a communications coordinator, the ComCord, that we've used for years, but it's never been a documented position. They're looking to rewrite both the ComL and the ComT courses to bring them up to date. They're looking at an additional course for people like the people in this room to update ICS without repetition from course to course. A lot of these courses continuously repeat what we've learned, spending a week in what can be probably done in 4 hours. So looking to do that. And finally, a new accessible library that will be easy to log in and find documentation that we're looking for. That's what I've got, Director. If anybody's got any questions.
That library, is that in Chasm or is that just a separate library?
It looks like it's going to be a library through the SafeCom website.
Thank you, Jay. Right, the ComU program. So I went through and updated these slides. I went from 24 to about 50, so I downsized. I'm not going to continue to go through the program and the process and the policy. Everybody in here is familiar with it. So I just wanted to update everybody on the courses. Right now we have ComT left in November. It's a 5-day course. Currently 16 seats. We have 17 students that have registered, so we have 1 on the waiting list. I encourage people to still register for it because once we vet and go through the students, sometimes we get cancellations and we'll pull people off the waiting list. So if you have people that want to take it, please have them still register. And then we have a ComU instructor meeting exercise in December. This year, we have quite a bit to go over, including the schedule for next year's training, as well as and we're going to review the instructor process and create an adjunct instructor program similar to what OEM does So our instructors get some experience and evaluation before they're cut loose on their own. As far as the statewide, I should have left my glasses in the office. I think it's 183. Is that where we're at?
Yep.
Okay. So that's what we're at right now, 183. And I think we have 2 pending right now that we're working on. Phil McHugh from our office and Julie Schwartz will be transitioning into the ComU program. So that's going to be, we actually have a meeting on Friday. So they're going to take care of those 2 credentialed folks so they can go through the process of how we do it. Training, all of them are completed except for the 16 for ComT. So at the end of this year, we should have over 1,000 or close to 1,000 trainees out there that are working. Some more active than others, but the program is moving forward. And again, thank you to all you folks in this room that have been part of that and helped spread the word on this program. LMS, I did leave this slide in because I want to encourage everyone to go back and tell everybody that if they need to go into LMS and update their personal information. With course registrations, we continue to have people that have old email information in there. So when we're sending them documents that we need, it's going somewhere that they don't have anymore. And we end up having to try and track down the students from the information in LMS, and it's very difficult. So please encourage people to go in and update their information. If they're not in LMS and they're going to plan on taking any courses in New York State, this is the main page, and they go to the portal, they do a web form and submit it, and then an account's created for them. If they already have an account, they check that first. So if they don't think they have one, still do this, and they'll collect the information, and then they will end up sending them the information from the account they actually have. So, any questions? All right, Matt, public safety, you want the clicker?
Yeah, that's all right. Okay. Morning, everyone. Update here on public safety broadband. So, update on AT&T FirstNet. They're up to nationwide 3.7 million connections and 21,500-ish agencies are using FirstNet. Some of those are customers who were on AT&T who moved to FirstNet. Others came from other carriers or new connections into AT&T FirstNet. In New York, from our original opt-in agreement for 100 FirstNet sites, 89 of those 100 are on the air. 9 more construction completed. That's in addition to a couple hundred of their commercial build sites that they've also built, but these were ones specifically funded out of the federal FirstNet initiative. Those 9 that are construction completed, they'll probably be on the air very shortly if they're not by the time, slide here. Basically, that means is the site's on the up, everything's done. They might just be waiting for the backhaul to get turned on. They might be waiting to optimize it into the network, do the RF optimization. A couple of things we had recently with FirstNet, UN General Assembly, UNGA. We had DHSES supports relocation efforts related to the UN General Assembly. And we had FirstNet, AT&T FirstNet staged with us. They actually brought into the city, they brought a full site on wheels trailer, satellite backhaul, set it up, put it all up, tower and everything, and just had the satellite turned down. Basically, it was ready to go. If something were to happen during the UN General Assembly, they could have turned it up. They also brought a CRD, which is a little compact rapid deployable. It mounts on a trailer hitch. It's a large box with a satellite dish on it. So they could, if had to leave the area, they could take that right with us, and wherever we ended up, could turn that on and provide FirstNet support there as well. Ulster County wildfire support. There was a wildfire in Ulster County about 2 months ago. The command post was inside a metal firehouse, had poor cell service. AT&T brought up from New Jersey a BDA, set it up, put it on the side of the building, ran through a window, and got AT&T coverage, FirstNet coverage inside the building for the command post. Verizon Wireless, they have 178 new sites in New York State this year. 127 are small cell, 30 are macro or full tower sites, and 23 are in-building sites. All their macro sites have battery backup, and about 80% of them have generators. The other 20%, they can't put generators on due to restrictions. It might be zoning restrictions, they might be rooftop sites or something where they're not allowed to put a generator. Any questions on broadband? Jay?
On the FirstNet sites, how many of those sites have backup generators?
So every new site they build is built with a generator unless they are legally prohibited due to a zoning restriction or something, building code for putting a generator on. Of sites that were predate the FirstNet initiative, most of the upstate sites had generators. Not all of the downstate, the New York City metro area sites had generators. However, part of this opt-in initiative was that they were going to add 250 generators to sites and other critical switching components and so forth that didn't have generators. The vast majority of those in the New York City metropolitan area. So I don't have an exact percentage. I can get it for the next meeting, but they have generators on most upstate sites and a lot more downstate sites than they did.
Director, may I make a comment, an engineering comment?
Say again? What did you say?
May I make an engineering comment on cell sites and the like?
Sure.
Right now, you put up a cell site. If you have 4 vendors on the site, you'll have 4 UPSs, 4 generators, 4 fuel supplies, if they're all backed up. If you have a power outage and the generator goes down for whatever reason, you still lose that carrier. If it's FirstNet, it could be critical if you have a lot of agencies on it. There's an easy fix that doesn't cost overall any additional money. The fix is on new tower sites. The tower erector puts in 2 generators, each being able to run the entire site. So the vendor had the UPS and then hooks up to the carrier had the UPS that hooks up to the vendor's generator. The generator craps out, the second generator kicks in. You don't lose any of your carriers on the site. Environmentally, it's more friendly because the bigger generator, the less polluting. And you have that N+2, you have the double redundancy. Just something to think about as we license new towers.
Thank you, Jay.
Next topic, channel naming and use working group. So this is more of a question. So as a reminder, we have a number of interoperability guidelines on our website, base station configurations of interoperability channels, network IP structure, programming of portables and mobiles, encryption. But a lot of these have not been updated in a few years. We haven't necessarily anything come up needs an update, but I'm asking sort of the community, are there any changes needed? Is there anything in that, now they've been out there for a while and just doesn't work out? People tried to follow the guidelines and have found a lot of problems with it, or something that we're not stating in there that we need to be clear or to state. And then, similarly, are there any guidelines related to interoperability that we should have but don't have today on the website? So, answer now, but if you think of any, just send me a comment and let me know, so that's what we're always looking at. So feedback is always welcome. Questions on the Citizens Alerting Committee? So recent FCC actions, the FCC has released a report and order that incorporates some changes to the AS. In summary, the changes require broadcasters, cable companies, and the like to check for a CAP compliant message and use that message instead of the relayed audio. So the way EAS works is that typically broadcasters in a chain will receive the audio from another authority or another alerting station, and then repeat that. And over time, that tends to get, you get noise built into that. Sometimes there's problems where the messages get cut off and it leads to a lot of technical problems. Plus, there's a limit to how long the message can be. By checking for a cap, which is essentially an IP stream of all the messages that are sent through AAS, requires internet access at the location, the control point or the transmitter for the broadcaster. Many of them have it today anyway. And use that message instead. That way, the audio can be much clearer because it's basically like an MP3 file with the audio. It's not relayed. It can be longer. In the future, it can allow certain other things like other languages to be relayed as well. But if there's a time frame, I think it's 9 seconds. If the cap message is not detected or available within that, the broadcaster just has to default to using the relayed one. So if your network access is down, it's not that the message doesn't get relayed. You just go back to sort of the old method, which is to relay what you received over the air from somebody before you in the chain. They've also changed some wording to make national tests easier for the public to understand. Instead of using sort of technical kind of government language, they made it very clear that like, this is the federal government testing the emergency alert system to ensure that we can reach you in an emergency. It's just sort of that kind of clearer language. Another thing that's not on this slide because it just happened the other day is we received the latest IPAWS quarterly status report. That's the quarter for July, August, September for every agency that has the IPAWS Integrated Public Alert Warning System. Alerting Authority in New York State is required to test their proficiency in it in a demo environment monthly. Normally, if you don't test for 3 months in a row, your ability to send those messages is suspended. Because of the pandemic, they have suspended the suspension. This is FEMA. However, they're still tracking those who are not alerting. We brought this up a few months ago. We have seen improvement. We know a number of counties have re-upped their certificates, their memorandums of agreement with the federal government. We have seen improvement. We've seen a couple of counties slide the wrong way into not testing over the last couple of months. Some are 1 or 2 months behind, and we're going to follow up with those counties. FEMA did have a problem over the summer with their certificate issuing for their demo environment. So they caveated sort of the report with, we're not sure that this truly is showing that people are not testing. We received a couple reports last night that some counties that they thought had tested or show up as not tested. So we can't say for certain that these counties that still show as not tested truly are, but the reminder is the same regardless. If you're an IPAWS alerting authority, you need to test every month. That's to stay compliant. If you do, and at some point FEMA will start suspending again. And if you haven't tested in 3 months, you'll be suspended. And if you're not testing, you may not realize that. And then you go in an actual emergency to send an alert and you can't because you're suspended. And just testing every month is good for proficiency because when something's happening, you got to jump in and send an alert. You don't want to thinking, geez, I haven't done this in a year. How do I do this again? So, the monthly test is there for a very important reason. Any questions? Thank you. Right.
Write down the password.
I have nothing new to report for the state agency communications working group.
All right, man, thank you.
I was gonna say, I thought it was, I'm like, I should hang on to that.
Yeah.
Maybe have too many slides to cover.
So, covering the grant report today, Phil is in grant in Lake George for the division. So, this is formula grant status. So we have our each of the program names by year. We have the appropriation year, the appropriation amount, that's the original amount of the grant, and then how much has been vouchered to date. So you can see that going back further in time, significant amounts vouchered, but there are still some open ones. So if you are a county that's under, an older grant, if you have an extension, you need to spend that, need to close that out. If there's a problem, reason why it's not being spent, I'm assuming you'll probably talk to your grants representative, contract representative about that, but that's important to, spend that out and look at the future grants. So as we come nearer in time, you can see that some of them are vouchered. This is the grant from the 2020 formula grant, 45 million, vouchered 9.3 million. This is the 2021 SIG grant, is the one that was 2 years of appropriations that was announced on August 3rd. So we haven't really vouchered anything on that yet, but that's a double appropriation also. It's 2 appropriation years. So the PSAP operations grant, these tend to spend quicker because of the kinds of funding that they are, the smaller projects or used for staffing and so forth. So those have been closed out. And then down here, we've got just the open ones right now, even the 2021, 9 million, it's almost, 9 of the 10 million, 90% vouchered. And then this is again, the one that was just announced on August 3rd, and already some of the vouchering has begun on that as well, so. Then on the targeted grant, so the original target grant for 2018 was broken into 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Those are underway. As you can see, we've got vouchering going on that. And then this is the current targeted grant. This was the RFA that was from the springtime with some clarification questions over the summer. It's a $62 million targeted grant, max $6 million award per county. We have in budget development, we've reached out to the top scoring counties and have begun budget development. They're not awards yet. We don't know exactly how many counties will be awarded, when that award will occur. And that will, of course, lead to a project period TBD because we don't know when that award will happen. So overall, as I mentioned, the 2022 PSAP operations and the combined 21-22 formula grant awards were announced on 8/3. The 2022 targeted grant budget development is in process. So the total to date is about $729 million in grants since program's inception. So, man, of course, please submit your vouchers to get the reimbursement as we can close out the open grants. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, we had a consortium chair meeting last night it was pretty good. It was like 2.5 hours. And the consortium, we talked about a lot of different topics, but we feel that committee is very important, and a lot of it is linked to a lot of what we all do, and even the grant funding and the projects done by these consortiums. So I asked a representative from the consortium to speak on behalf of the chairs from last night. So Dana Smith from Dutchess County, he is the chair of the Hudson Valley Consortium. Turn it over to you, Dana.
Thank you. Good morning, Mark, and good morning, everyone. And on behalf of the 9 consortiums in New York State, we'd like to congratulate and welcome Mark to his new role. Been a partner for many years, like everyone else in the office is. And that's one of the things we really want to stress. I don't have a detailed, specific report of what the consortiums are working on. Don't want to bore you with that today. In the future, we're going to have basically a 1 sheet going forward. We agreed to last night for this group and also for the C3 meeting. From all the different counties up through the consortiums. But we want to talk about the opportunity to partner and cooperate and be more involved and be true partners in this. As Brett mentioned and everybody did last night, I think everyone in this room will agree, interoperability is more than land mobile radio. With technology advancements today, the demands of our first responders for technology, the advancements in technology, the ecosystem of interoperability changes daily. And the request for not only first responders, but other government entities, the public, and the advancement in technology, we need to be prepared for that and think more than just land mobile radio. I know many of us in this room and many agencies are making investments in that. And together between the consortium chairs and all the counties they represent, the office and this board, we truly want to be a partner with you that moving forward. So once again, congratulations, Mark, and condolences at the same time. Stretch the new guy for about 14 months. I think that's
14 months. All right, I'm good with that. Thanks, Dana. Appreciate it. Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept all the committee reports. Do I have a motion? Motion by Alan Turner.
Mike Serrato, second.
Mike Serrato, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any old business? Anybody? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept old business. So I'll move right along, right?
Yeah.
Motion by Brett, seconded by
Anthony Tripp.
Anthony Tripp. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, new business. One of the things we want to do is, and I'm doing this quickly because I don't want to missed this slide. I was warned by Joanne, if I miss the slide, I'm in trouble. No soup for me. So February 1st of 2023, May 17th, 23, August 2nd, October 25th. And this is all on the presentation that was sent to you guys, the invite. So if you don't get them here, just go back and grab that slideshow, and that last slide there is that. Anybody else have any new business?
I'd like to,
Alan?
it occurred to me last night after, towards the end of the C3 meeting, that we talk a lot about the continuing development of interoperability between the consortium groups. But one thing we really haven't touched on, and without counting county by county, I would say probably more than 40 counties in the state either border on another state or border on Canada. And I would like to encourage this board and the C3 group to start investigating how we can work with our neighbors in the other states and in Ontario and Quebec. Obviously, that's a big situation to delve into, both internationally and with other state governments. But I think we're moving along well within our state. And that's the next, I think, appropriate point where we should look at. Urge others to speak up, and what do you think? Or for those of you that are on board, the border other states, how are you doing things, and is it working for you?
And I border 2 states, Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York all meet at Port Jervis. And they have a good working relationship out there. We have towers in Pennsylvania and equipment on towers there. So I can get a report from my 911 guy on how it works out there. But Port Jervis and Matamoros and Sussex, they work together every day. So there is radio interoperability out there. I'll find out. And I know all my fire guys have triple band radios because they deal with Ulster and Sullivan, that's not on our new system. So we're sort of that dividing line between that new 700-800 trunk system and some of the more rural counties that don't have it yet. So we have the Hudson River to Delaware. We border a lot of different things down there in Orange. So I'll find out exactly what Greg does down there, but we don't seem to have any problems. We deal with the Jersey troopers, the Pennsylvania troopers, Matamoros, PD, and Port Jervis. Everybody communicates well, and there's really good coverage out there with our new towers that we put up. So I'll get a report on that for next time.
I spoke with Tina Goodwin from Steuben County last week at the 911 conference, and she said that her county and the neighboring counties in Pennsylvania that they border on, dispatch to dispatch, they still have to do everything by phone. The field units have interoperability amongst themselves, but there's not a dedicated state-to-state radio setup. Just, I'd like us to move forward on that if we can. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but.
Alan, I could say on a high level, I mean, I agree with you, individual counties, with their neighbors in other states and Canada is very, very important. I know of relationships. There was a committee, actually, I don't know if you want to call it a committee, but a group that formed between Orange and New Jersey, and it was like a tri-state interoperable communications group that met regularly. That's been going on. At a high level, the SWICs, the state wireless interoperability coordinators, they meet regularly. So Mark, as the new SWIC for New York, will be meeting regularly with the SWICs from the neighboring states. On the 911 front, as the state 911 coordinator, I meet regularly through NASNA, which is the National Association of State 911 Coordinators. We meet twice a year formally and monthly informally virtually. And so I have a ongoing relationship with the 911 coordinator at the state of Vermont, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania. New Jersey has a fairly new one. And so those communications go on, but I agree with you that, you know, you're talking technical, you talk actual county to county and so on. That there's probably areas where the work can be done and improvements can be made. We all know about the challenges of LMR with the Canadian Line A,
Okay.
and that's more of a federal thing,
Hey,
right? Hey. Yeah. And the chair, which makes recognize Chris.
recognize Christelle.
Thank you, sir. So what I recommend is the consortiums talk to their counties that have those borders, either state or international, bring back to the consortiums any issues that they see to Mark and Brett. And then New Jersey just has a new SWIC in the last 2 months, Connecticut within the last year, Massachusetts in the last 2 years. So all the bordering SWICs are fairly new as well. So I know Mark and New Jersey SWIC have already been talking and, you know, introducing one another. So it's a good opportunity to utilize the cross-border communication as leverage in SWIC for conversation. And ironically, last Wednesday, CISA started up discussions again on the northern border working group with Canada. That has been dormant for roughly 4 to 5 years due to politics. I'll leave it at that. But Canada has a willingness to start to engage again at the federal level regarding international border communications conversations and issues. We will not discuss Line A anytime in the first few meetings, I promise you that. But the FCC, you know, has been a partner. They continue to do what we can. And we made it very clear on the call last week that any engagement in the states at the northern border, especially in the Northeast, that Industry Canada has to be part of the conversations to start to look at legacy licenses that are not being utilized anymore and that are dormant and give public safety priority over those licenses. So, you know, we continue to advocate on the United States side. It's just getting it heard and actionable on the Canadian side. But, you know, to Alan's point, the international piece is starting back up as well. So it's kind of a very timely topic to bring up.
Anybody else? Just to add on to what Alan said, it fits in perfect with kind of what I was going to say to kind of close a little bit today. A lot of our committees, I think we need to take a look at the committees. Some of them haven't met. I think we ought to really take a look and see if some of them are even necessary. And there's nothing preventing us from having people giving reports in different areas. They don't have to have a committee to give a report. I also think we ought to start looking at the committees and actually using the committees and start some projects with these committees. Some of the things we've talked about today and other meetings, we have committees for that, but we really haven't had meetings. We haven't brought these up and we haven't started trying to work forward with things. I know one of the ones, and that's why Brett said he had no report, because I told him I was going to touch on it, is the state agency working group. We need to be a lot more active. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I think our state agency working group is a perfect venue to accomplish a lot. And with the partnerships that Dana talked about, and Matt talked about, you know, the building on the citizen alerting committee and things like that, and also the channel naming and working group. I mean, these are all committees that we already have. So from now until February, obviously don't want to do it today, but from now till February, just give some thought, send some ideas to us, please, on what we'd like to see. Any suggestions on how we can get those committees more active and how we can increase that partnership that we already have existing, I think is going to go a long way to what we all do. We're all partners in the same industry, no matter whether we're state, county, or local. We're all partners in the same things. We all face the same problems and have for years. So I think we just start tackling these problems together and move forward. So does anybody have anything else for the SIEC board today? Okay, I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and I'll adjourn with the hope, and I really do appreciate all the support, and I'm looking forward to working with all you guys. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved, Brian LaFleur, seconded? Brendan. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Everybody?